People ask, why would a journalist make up fake news? Money, prestige, career. That's why this guy apparently did it. The latest update on the Klaus Rotius fiasco, however you pronounce his name. This is a guy who for years made fake news and worked for Der Spiegel in Germany. He even won CNN's Journalist of the Year award. This from the New York Times. Apparently, Der Spiegel to press charges against reporter who made up articles. I guess it's illegal? They say, Der Spiegel has announced that it will press charges against a former Star reporter accused of systematically faking interviews and articles in what might be the biggest journalism scandal in Germany since another news magazine published fake Hitler diaries 35 years ago. Wow, that's a fake one if I've ever heard one. The announcement came as the United States ambassador waded into the scandal by accusing the news magazine of anti-American bias and calling for an independent audit. Richard Grenell, the American ambassador to Germany, wrote a letter to Der Spiegel on Friday that appeared to try to tie the fraud committed by the reporter Klaus Rotius, 33, to the news magazine's editorial methods. Some of the most notable articles that Rotius admitted to faking are set in the U.S., such as profiles of a religious activist who travels the country to witness executions, anti-immigrant militiamen in Arizona, and a town of Trump supporters in Minnesota. These fake news stories largely focus on U.S. policies and certain segments of the American people. Yes, I will tell you why. It's not because they hate America. They don't care. It's because Trump bump, man. You know what the Trump bump is? Of course you do. Negative stories about the right and Trump, they sell, it makes money. That's why everybody does it. You think Stephen Colbert goes on his show every night and makes fun of conservatives and Trump because it loses them money? No, it's because it pops the ratings up and they enjoy doing it. And it's probably why this guy did it. He wanted big stories, so he targeted the right and smeared them because these news magazine companies, most of them are in big cities and sell to liberals. So find an enemy, write about them, make it shocking, and people will read it. They say, we have previously voiced our concerns directly to Spiegel editors and journalists regarding bias in reporting on U.S. policy and the U.S. administration, the ambassador wrote. Since taking his post in Berlin in May, Mr. Grenell has been an outspoken advocate for the Trump administration. Since the letter became public, Mr. Grenell has been active on Twitter, repeating the charge of anti-American bias to his 114,000 followers on the site. He has this tweet. Der Spiegel says they don't have any anti-American bias, but the facts tell a different story. Below are only a few examples. Look at this. So he's got this image, and it looks like, let's see, you got 20 covers from Der Spiegel's magazine, which are all basically anti-America. Look, do you want to know why people write this? It's basically what I just said. They do it because it gets clicks. Der Spiegel probably doesn't care about America at all. They don't. They know that writing these stories will generate traffic, so they chase the algorithm. That's why they do it. In fact, most people who produce content do this. There are people who are in the anti-SJW side of things. There are conservatives who do the same thing. And don't take my word for it. Take Blair White's word for it. She made a video a few months ago talking about how there are certain figures on the right who admitted they don't actually care, believe this stuff. It's just part of the game. It makes money. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but I know firsthand that there's one individual prominent on the left, one person prominent on the right that I can directly confirm do this. It's not unique to any one side, and I don't know who does it more than the other. I know that the left likes to call people grifters, and that's just dumb. Certainly there are people who do, but I know people on the left who do this. People who have told me full stop, they don't care about any of this. It just makes them money. It's fun. It's exciting. Isn't it fun getting all this attention? Don't care. They're just bad people. Someone on the right did this to another. So there's another person on the left, I'm trying to avoid naming people, who is, in my opinion, out of their gourd, posting ridiculous nonsense, but they really do believe it. So, by all means, think crazy things as long as you're being honest. That's fine. I'll just try and use my speech to debunk your bad speech. But there was a far right, not far right, maybe not the right idea, not the right phrasing. It was like high-profile, provocative right-wing figure who said, "Do you want to get into a spat so that we can generate traffic?" And the other person was like, "Oh, I never," And so it exists. It does. But let's carry on with this fake news story. The American diplomat's tone was less about the transgressions of one reporter and more about the perceived bias by a newsroom expecting a certain type of article to be filed. In the letter, Grenell suggested that much of the critical coverage of the United States could be avoided if German reporters checked their facts with the American embassy before submitting their articles. I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, come on. While they should do a better job of reporting facts, and you could check with the American embassy, No, don't expect me, when I'm writing a story about, like, let's say there's an Antifa person. Like, I did a video about the Antifa guy a couple days ago. Yeah, I'm not going to go check with Antifa to make sure I got my facts right. I don't trust them to report accurately. They should comment. That would be fair. Admittedly, this is more of an opinion channel, so I wouldn't necessarily do that. But it is fair to say they could reach out to the embassy to get a statement on some issues. But if they're not talking about embassy issues and they're talking about activists, like religious activists or militiamen, then I don't see why the American embassy's opinion would matter. So, no. He said, unfortunately, it is routine practice for Spiegel reporters to not even call us before writing. Well, yeah, I mean, they should call you if the story's about you, or maybe about the administration. They can, get in touch with someone to comment, but they're not obligated to. The editors of Der Spiegel, the country's most important news magazine, who have been dealing with the fallout of the affair and the reputational damage to its vaunted fact-checking department, lack thereof, have apologized to Americans who felt insulted about the former reporter's fraud. But they pushed back on the ambassador's criticism. When we criticize the American president, this does not amount to anti-American bias. It is criticism of the policies of the man currently in office in the White House. No, here's my problem. I just don't trust these stories anymore. Okay, Trump says, how about we get our soldiers out of Syria? It was wrong for us to be there in the first place. And how about we pull half our soldiers out of Afghanistan? We shouldn't be there at all. And then what happens? The anti-Trump media comes out in full force. Apparently, like Rachel Maddow had a segment about how it's wrong. The Washington Post said we've just lost the Cold War. And there have even been some progressive personas on YouTube saying it is wrong to pull out of Syria. And I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? You want this proxy war with Russia? Sure, okay. The argument they make in this regard is that, like, oh, we're at war where it's a proxy war with Russia. We better win because we got to get those natural resources. And for me, I'm just like, yeah, that's not really a justification of any of this, right? Anyway, but I don't want to go on a rant here. The main point is, this dude right here is a liar. Now let's talk a little bit. You can talk about anti-Americanism. I'm sure that's fine. They're going to press charges on this guy. But people say, why would a journalist make up a news story? Dude, you get millions of hits. This guy won awards. Doesn't it feel good to be Journalist of the Year? To have CNN hand you that award and be like, you're the best, Klaus. Good job. And he lied to get there. But it gets better, because it's not just, there's more. Why did he lie? Well, he wanted to make money. This from the BBC. The German reporter Klaus Relodius, accused by top news magazine Der Spiegel of faking stories, could now face embezzlement charges. Yeah, see, why would someone lie? Because they're bad people. Here's the thing. I have people saying to me, but Tim, this is just one guy. It's not indicative of what's going on in news media. No, this is proof it happens. And this is just the guy who got caught. Because, what's really funny to me is I can definitively prove that Washington Post has made up fake stories. There was that one incident where the writer for I believe it was the Washington Post, was wrong about James O'Keefe and flat out refused to correct, saying, I won't. Yeah, it's wrong. I won't correct it. And then the Washington Post editors apparently came in and said, we got to fix this. I can also definitively state, I can say it's beyond a reasonable doubt, or just to be safe, in my opinion, I have evidence that suggests the Daily Beast regularly writes fake news as well. And I've reached out to them for comment to verify how they've made certain stories, and they can't. And isn't that funny? How often, like the Washington Post actually did write a fake news story I've talked about time and time again. They've never corrected it. Or I should say they need to get rid of it, but what they did was they just added words like may, and appears to, and allegedly. That way they're not making any definitive statements. Yeah, it's still creating a false impression to manipulate their audience, and the story was still published completely as complete fake news, right? But I'll tell you why they do it. This guy was making money. So in the latest development, Der Spiegel reports that it received messages from readers saying Relodius had used a private email account to ask for donations to help Syrian orphans in Turkey. The money should be sent to his personal bank account. The magazine quotes readers as saying, you gotta be kidding me, dude. This guy worked for them for years. He was emailing people saying, give me money to my personal account, and they did. The publication says it is not yet clear what sort of response he received, how much money was collected, or where it ended up. It could be small, but now he's facing charges on a couple different fronts, apparently. Unless this is specifically what the New York Times was referring to. They didn't talk, they were talking about anti-Americanism or something. A Turkish photographer who accompanied Relodius on the story said the reporter has made up some aspects of the boy's life and heavily fictionalized others. The photographer suspects that the sister may not have existed at all. Isn't that fun? So then the BBC gets into the anti-American stuff. So let's just wrap up with the end of what the New York Times says. They say on Saturday night, the magazine announced in one of the many articles documenting Reload's misdeeds, the editors would be filing criminal complaint after it emerged that he had set up private donations. Okay, so that's what it's about. So it's not two charges, it's one charge over this embezzlement nonsense. But this is the face of evil. This is a bad human being, okay? And so, it is what it is. But anyway, I got more videos coming. They'll be up on the channel in a few minutes. Stick around.